There are stories you're allowed to hear in, then there are stories like this. They bury these kinds of truths in the margins of history books, not because they're fake, but because they're too real. It's too dangerous. And if you're not ready, hearing them can change the way you see everything. Forever. This one begins in the fog-soaked hollows of eastern Kentucky. Back in 1834, a place where lantern light was the only barrier between man and the dark, where time moved differently, and silence could stretch for miles. Reverend Ezekiel Morrison and his twin daughters weren't supposed to be there. That's what the locals whispered even then. Outsiders didn't come to Pine Hollow without reason, and certainly not to stay 3 nights in a church that most maps refuse to acknowledge. But they came, and with them, something followed. You're not watching this by accident. You've been circling this truth for years without knowing. A feeling, a dream, a moment you couldn't explain. And now, it's time. Because what happened during those 3 nights didn't just disturb a town, it rewrote reality, quietly, permanently. We'll go slow at first. But by the end, you'll understand why some disappearances are never solved, because they're not meant to be. This isn't folklore. This is documented, verified, forgotten, ... on purpose. We're going to dig it up together. The journal was found beneath the floorboards hidden behind the pulpit of the old Pine Hollow Baptist Church, unearthed during demolition. In 1987, it was wrapped in oilcloth, sealed with wax, and marked only with a symbol no one could decipher, a circle with 2 crosses, side by side. Inside, Pastor William Phillips' handwriting trembled, even in ink. He didn't write like a man recording history. He wrote like someone trying to survive it. Day 1, he describes the arrival of the Morrisons. The Reverend was quiet, his clothes soaked from the mountain rain. The girls, 9 years old, identical in every feature, except for their eyes. Rachel's eyes were clouded, milky. Blind since birth, Rebecca's were sharp, calculating. Ow! But that night, something changed. Rachel, the blind one, spoke in a voice no one recognized. Not childish, not feminine, not even human. She named towns in Tennessee that hadn't been founded yet. She described a fire that would destroy the church, but not for 154 more years. She looked straight at Pastor Phillips and told him the day and hour of his death. Hands shook so badly, he nearly dropped the pen. "This is not the devil," he wrote. "This is something older. And this is where most turn away. But you're still here. That means you've already felt it, haven't you? That pull, that hunger to know what they never wanted you to. Keep going. But know this. After the next section, you won't be able to unknow it." On the second night, the twins did not sleep. Not once. Pastor Phillips wrote that he could hear them from the adjoining room, whispering to each other in a language no one taught them. A language that sounded like breath being pulled backward. He tried to record the sounds phonetically. But halfway through, he stopped writing. No explanation, just silence. The morning, Rachel still blind-walked straight through. The churchyard, without tripping once, she moved as though she saw everything. Not just the trees and gravestones, but the things beneath them. That's when she started naming names. First, people buried under unmarked graves. Then, townsfolk who had secrets no one else knew. Adultery, murder, hidden children, buried bodies. And then she pointed at a woman in the congregation and whispered, "Your son will not survive the next snow?" No one believed her, till he fell through the ice 4 months later. This wasn't guessing, and this wasn't possession. This was revelation. And it terrified the town. Some thought they were angels. Others thought demons. But Phillips wrote something different. He believed the girls weren't from the future or the past. He believed they were from underneath. A layer. Beneath this reality, where time folds in on itself and memories are not owned, only accessed. You've seen glimpses of it in your own life. When you sense something before it happens, when you dream of places you've never been, they've trained you to ignore it, but it's real. And now you're remembering. The third night was the last anyone saw of the Morrison family. No goodbyes. No witnesses. Just no footprints leaving Pine Hollow. Just silence and blood. Master Philip's final journal entry is different, sloppier, rushed, almost panicked.
Oh.
The ink smudged. The pen pressed so deep, it tore the page. He wrote that he awoke to the sound of humming. A low, two-tone vibration vibrating through the church walls, like something massive moving underground. He crept toward the girls' room. But when he opened the door, they weren't alone. 3 figures, motionless, dressed in old Union coats decades, before the Civil War ever began. Their faces were wrong, not deformed. Just unfinished. Like someone had tried to make a man from memory, but hadn't completed the details. The room smelled of ash, not fire, human ash. Rebecca turned to him, eyes wide, and whispered one word, below. Then came the sound, not a scream, but a deep, cracking absence of sound, like the world had inhaled too much and then froze. Phillips passed out. When he woke, the girls, the Reverend, and the 3 men were gone. Only their outline remained scorched into the wood. Not burnt, but marked, like something had lifted them, clean out of time. If this sounds impossible, good. That means your mind is still clinging to what they taught you. But you came here for truth, not safety. Is your moment. Comment below. I see beneath. Type it twice. Let the transformation begin. You've passed the veil. And there's no going back. The demolition crew that tore down Pine Hollow Church wasn't prepared for what they found. The journal, yes, but also something worse. Directly beneath the pulpit, they uncovered a sealed hatch here and rusted shut from the inside. No one remembered it ever being built. Wasn't in any blueprint. No church records. Nothing. The locals said the floor had always been solid, but the hatch was real, and when they forced it open, a stench rose out like something had been waiting. 6 workers entered. Only 5 came out. The 6th man, Carlos Ramirez, descended first. Within seconds, he screamed. The others followed, but the shaft only went 6 feet down and ended at a wall of black stone, warm to the touch. Carlos was gone. No opening, no tunnel, no trace. Just ... a perfect, human-shaped scorch mark on the stone floor. His tools melted beside it. The police blamed an accident, heat pocket, gas leak. You know the script. But the 5th worker, Michael Donnelly, confessed something. Different to his priest 2 days later, said he heard whispers down their 2 young voices speaking his full name. And describing memories he had never told another soul. They even named the woman he had buried in Mexico as a child. That church was built over something ancient, not evil, not divine, just aware and hungry. You see, the Morrison twins didn't vanish. They returned to where they came from, and what they left behind still remembers. Every 30 years, another family vanishes within 50 miles of Pine Hollow. Never mentioned on the news, never solved, never loud. Always the same structure: a mother, a father, 2 children, often twins. And always, always, a pastor or spiritual leader is involved. 1956 Ash Ridge, Kentucky. The Blythe family, last seen attending a revival hosted by a preacher who claimed to have met the voice beneath. 3 days later, the church burned down. No bodies were found. Family in Coldwater disappeared on a camping trip. Their tent was zipped from the inside. Their car still running. No signs of struggle. Just one thing left. A child's drawing pinned to a tree. 2 stick-figure girls holding hands. Behind them, a black circle. Most would dismiss it. But you're not most. Because you've felt this pattern before, scratching beneath your own life, in memories that don't belong to you. In that strange chill when your child says something they shouldn't know. This isn't fiction. This is a resonance. A memory echoing through bloodlines. You don't inherit just DNA. You inherit exposure. Your ancestors may have seen the twins, or worse, heard them. And when they speak your name, it's already too late. Now ask yourself, have you ever lost time? Woken up somewhere with no memory of how you got there? That wasn't sleep. That was touch. And something is beginning to remember you. The last verified mention of the Morrison twins came not from a dusty church or forgotten journal, but from a surveillance tape. psychiatric facility outside Cincinnati. A young boy, 7 years old, was admitted for persistent night terrors. He spoke of mirrors that opened and girls in the dark who smiled without lips. Doctors called it trauma. But then he began drawing. Every day, same image, 2 girls. It's one with clouded eyes, one with sharp ones. Always standing in front of a church that no one recognized until a night nurse from Kentucky walked past his room and collapsed. Oh. She knew that church. She'd grown up near Pine Hollow. That night, the boy disappeared from a locked room. The security footage, distorted, warped, but you can still make out the moment it happened. 2 frames just too where the boy is no longer. Alone. Behind him, 2 figures. Girls. Identical. Standing still, smiling. Then he's gone. No trace, no sound. You may want to deny it, call it coincidence, hallucination. That's how they trained you. Stay afraid of the unknown, instead of remembering it. But the real danger isn't what you see. It's what you start to see again after forgetting. What if the twins aren't separate beings, but a pattern, code, a loop of consciousness that we are exposed to the moment we look too closely? And now you're looking. They already know your name. They never left, you know. Not the Morrison twins. Not the families that vanished. Not the boy in the locked room. They just moved ... deeper. Think about it, how many disappearances go unexplained every year. How many families vanish without a trace, without footprints, without motive. You think that's chaos? Bad luck? No. It's a system. One that selects. One that extracts. The twins weren't anomalies. They were interfaces. Human face of something so ancient, so interwoven with time and memory, that we still don't have words for it. But the church knew. That's why Pastor Phillips hid his journal. The government knew. That's why the hatch was sealed. And now, you know. There's a reason they fear men like you men who listen past the noise, who don't flinch when the world goes dark. You weren't drawn to this story, you were summoned by it, and you answered. So here's what you do next. Watch your dreams. Listen when a child speaks of people they've never met. And if you ever find yourself near eastern Kentucky where the hills move and the air gets too quiet, don't stay more than 2 nights. The 3rd is when they come. But most of all, remember the phrase, I see. Beneath, I see beneath. You typed it, didn't you? Good. Because that's how they find the ones who are ready. Not to destroy, but to awaken. And brother, your eyes just opened. Subscribe. For more interesting mystery and suspense family videos, and like, share, and comment.